have done all the developing, and I've been working with them behind the scenes. We know everyone's time's important, but so is this app. So I'll make a start, give you a bit of an introduction, and then Archie's going to run through a demonstration, and there'll be times for Q&A during and afterwards. So here goes. So late last year, we were talking to Growcom about getting some data to fight the 38-hour week amendment to the award. And I said to a few industry people and Growcom, how about we put together an app, chuck in $1,000 each and co-brand it, and it would be able to be, we could use something to repeatedly survey workers. And I thought, well, especially seasonal workers. And they all, none of them liked that idea, but I just kept thinking that the app would be so much more than a tool for surveys. So I went ahead and I basically understand about how communication builds relationships, and felt we could enrich the experience that the seasonal workers are having whilst they're working for us. You know, I want them to be here. It's more than just about picking fruit. I want it to be so much more, and I think we can help facilitate that through better communication and better relationships. So, the most important thing I guess I really want them to be able to do is to be able to sort through information and make better decisions and choices. And now more than ever, that's one of the biggest issues we face is their decision making and choices that they're taking. So the other side of the app was I wanted to find out what was really going on with them, because you go to the meetings, you catch up with them, and you say, how's everything going? And they'll just say, yeah, we're fine. And they smile and everything's sweet, wonderful. But 9 times out of 10, it's not. So in order to turn that around, we wanted to, if we've got trust and confidence and respect and loyalty as a two-way thing, we're more likely to have them giving us information about themselves and others that's a true reflection of what's going on for them. And to me, that's pretty critical with everything we've done throughout the app so far. The other thing that I found that we were burning ourselves and our staff out by continually answering the same questions. Can you activate my bank card, or what's this on my pay slip, or I haven't got an email address, can you help me with this? So there was all those sort of repetitive type things that ask you about the on arrival briefing that they weren't, didn't take in at the briefing. So we thought the best means to do this was through an app, knowing that most seasonal workers have got smartphones, and if they haven't, they soon get one after arrival. So they're familiar with the technology, and from my experience, most of them know about apps and how to use them and how to gauge with the smartphone. So what we started off doing is just creating simple, what we call a campaign. So we started off by giving them a COVID safe message, how to wash your hands, hygiene, social distancing, that sort of stuff. So each particular item, and Archie's going to run through this in a minute, particular item is, we call it a campaign, and the campaign might be just one, or it could be 12. It just depends. So we've got one up there now for our pay slip, and I think there's about 10 or 11 slides that they swipe left and right, and each one is a different image with an explanation of what that item on their pay slip, for example, is. We've just done one for snakes. I think that's about 6 or 7 slides, but you'll get a bit of a feel for it once Archie's run through the demo. But basically, it shows them how to do stuff for themselves and how to learn about doing things for themselves. And we're refining the language that we use, the images and the language. So it's got to be simple language with clear images so that they can comprehend and understand that. I was in Telstra in Darwin the other day, and they've got a 20-odd page A4 book, coloured book. It's got these sort of cartoon characters. It's all pitched at Indigenous. Really simple images, simple language. It's like, here, this is what you get into if you want a mobile phone. Now, it's too big for this, but that concept is the same sort of thing that we're trying to develop, and we're experimenting with the app. Recently, as I said, we've recently updated the campaign for visas, so they understand what their obligations with their 403 visa and their subsequent 408 visas are. And then we've gone on and there's commentary around absconding. What are the ramifications of absconding? So more information, more power to them if they can, when they sit down and read about it and talk about it. But importantly, it's not just about ramming the information or broadcasting the information out to them. There's a way they can engage. They can give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down. There's the capacity to leave a comment. So that's where we can see the engagement that we're getting from the users. And that's what's giving us some real confidence that we're on the right track. Purely the feedback that we're getting and the engagement from work. And the list of topics is endless, really. You know, the more I show this to other approved employers and other people in general, the more we come up with different topics. So Archie's company is talking to WorkSafe Victoria at the moment, and he showed them this app. WorkSafe Victoria is saying this is a great model for getting out WorkSafe messages to migrants and that have English as a second language. So can you imagine we could each week send out a WorkSafe message on the app, just reminding them of how to pick things up or make sure your safety glasses are on. So, you know, we had a guy up here of the mangoes. He didn't wear his safety glasses, got a bit of mango sap in his eye and had 3 days off. Now, we could take an image of him and his injury and stick that up there and say, this is what happens when you don't wear your glasses. So that's the kind of concept that we're going along with our messaging, and we're tweaking it as we go. We're still, some of them have been more effective than others, but yeah, so there's a lot of work to do, but I think we're on the right track. And at the last AEA meeting, there was a number of issues that were raised, and then I said at the end of that meeting that this app can address all of those issues in terms of helping educate and inform seasonal workers about those particular topics: pregnancy, repatriation, claiming tax, absconding and work rights, which we've already done something about. So that's the overarching concept of the app. Giving them the information that we know will help them with their experience in Australia, but in a language and in a format that they can absorb and understand and interact with. That's the premise, I guess. And Archie's going to just run you through a little demo now, just to show you what that looks like, and then maybe we can have a few questions after the demo. And before we start that, there's a whole heap of data that gets captured with this app, and that data can then be translated into reports that you can run whenever. And Archie will run through that, but there's some really interesting information that comes out of those reports that will allow you, or as the approved employer, to drill down and then say, right, we've got to do something here. Something's not right. And the whole idea is we try and get to it before it turns into something that's, catastrophic. So I'll leave it at that for now. I hope that's kind of given you a little bit of a broad picture of what we're trying to achieve. I'll leave it to Archie to run through with the demo.
Yeah, sure. Great. That was great, Andy. Thank you for the introduction. So at Oxel, we are, I guess, a tech business, and we specialise in powering community engagement. So our definition of that is large and dispersed community groups or audiences are generally really hard to communicate with and get feedback. So that's what we do as a business. And talking to Andy, the technology that we've been developing over a couple of years just felt like a really good fit for what he's looking to do. And that was sort of the catalyst for the FarmMate brand being developed. So that's just a little bit about us. So what I'll do is, what I'm going to do is I've just got my phone. I'm going to mirrorcast my phone onto the screen so you can see the app working as if a seasonal worker was using it or anyone was using it in your workforces. That's the key. So after I do that, we'll have a short window for some app-related questions, but we'll try and keep moving because we want to get into the data and show some of the great results that we've got already. So I'll just share my screen. Just yell out if you can't see anything. Okay. So this is my phone. Can everyone see that okay?
Yep.
Yep. All clear? Cool.
Yep.
So I've just gone to the FarmMate app. This would be an opportunity where you can also get your own individual branding in here, but we can discuss that in more detail. So they created an account and I'll just go into one we've already created. Okay, so when they sign up, there's the opportunity so they will enable their notifications and also location. So location's interesting. So that's where we get into being able to actually target specific workers or work groups that may be scattered all over the state or the country. So you can be thinking about different communication to different segments of your own workforces, as well as the opportunity to have broad communication across all seasonal workers. So when they come into the app, as Andy mentioned, this is our definition of a campaign. So think about like a 10-page PDF document that we're looking to really synthesize down into something that they can pick up and read really easily and engage with quickly. So we've built in here the ability to push images, video, simple notes and messages, and then get reactions and comments as we go. And the idea with the swiping-based technology or that I guess feature is that we can stack content down. So as you can see, the top label is news visa information. So they can drill down as far as they want if it's appealing to them. So that's how the structure works per campaign. And then we have sort of scrolling. So as Andy mentioned, important information about snakes and snake bites. You can give that a like. And in particular, different tips, internet banking, and as he referred to, pay slips and how important that is that they can tap on it. You can zoom in, they can see what everything means. And I think, there's a bit of what I'm hearing from Andy is that they'll try and ring and email all the time about, I don't understand my pay slip. Well, here's a direct new communication channel that they can pick up and go for it. So as you're pushing content down, you can choose which section of your workforce you want it to go to. And then I think the collaborative nature of this platform and your group as such is there's a huge opportunity to share this content across each other. There's a lot of information here that we've identified that isn't exclusive to that workforce, that you could all just go, yeah, I'll opt into that. How great's that? Push it straight out to your workforce. So from a HR perspective and a resourcing perspective, even cost, it's a great way that you can get a lot of content building through the app for your workforce while still maintaining the ability to, you can send information to your workforce directly. We've been working on a lot of scheduled content, which is maybe even scheduled a month in advance versus what's on demand. So for example, if a border opens and you want to tell your workers straight away that a border's open and they can start moving around, here's a comms channel that you could use and push it out on that day. And then we facilitate bringing all this together for you. So that's our role. So you can go into quite a lot of detail about how much content you attach, whether that's read more, and then different comments you can filter through your comments and reactions. What we have done, which is quite unique, is we know that getting survey responses can be a challenge, and generally they're email led. You get that drop off rate. So this way, for example, this top campaign, we can talk to them about their visas, if you abscond, what the penalties are or what the problems are. But ideally, as we get through it, if we can start picking up markers that they're actually unhappy and would like to speak to someone, hopefully we can get some data points that help pick it up before it happens. And that's something that we'd be looking to achieve for it could be anything about different, you can use many examples of where that could be valuable just to get that little snippet of feedback back without them having to do a 10-question survey. So that's the concept. Communicate, engage, make it as engaging as possible, but then, we want to get that feedback loop filtering through. So as we explained, you can push any images and any video. So video can be quite effective depending on what your message wants to go out. And you can have these note style cards here. So if it was just a really simple piece of comms you didn't need an image attached to, we can just quickly send that out. So that might be just a checklist for the week, for example. So the concept is, with this worker type, let's keep the content simple, visual, easy to understand. And the simple things like don't pick up snakes might seem sort of funny, but it's really, really important that they can understand it in this format. So there's been a lot of work go into the sort of design and thinking over the last 6 months about how we can make this as simple as possible, really. So I think that's the basic, I guess, layout, how the app works, and then we can go in. We can go into later down the track if you're interested in how you can target, how you build structure campaigns, and that's our job at Oxel, is really to work with you on the content, work with you on the scheduling, and then the delivery part the whole way along. So we can give you point in time feedback. It could be what happened with that campaign this week versus a monthly report at the end. So that's all part of our role as helping this sort of come together.
I've got a couple of questions, Archie.
Yeah, sure.
Craig Owen here.
Craig.
So who can post? Is it anyone can post, or are they just able to respond with a thumbs up, thumbs down? Is it kind of controlled?
Good question. Yeah, so anyone can respond with a comment or a thumbs up and a thumbs down. But that's as far as it goes. They can't produce their own content, if you like, at this point and push it into the app. So it is really just coming from you as the organisation, as pushing the content down for them to react to.
Okay. And the other thing, there was a stumbling point for our workers right at the beginning. Many of them in the developing countries have skipped email altogether. They don't care about email. They don't have an email. They don't want an email. They're straight to smartphones, from 0 to 100. And so is there a requirement for them to have an email here to log in?
Great question. We have left, and this is something that Andy and I have spoken about at length. So we've left email in, but without it being mandatory. So we still want to hope to collect that data and for you, because it could be valuable, but it's not they can really put any field in there. We have already started developing mobile only sign-on. So getting rid of email completely. It's just, we're just sort of in that early stage where, we could swing to that pretty much straight away. So we're just working our way through that. And we need to probably dig into the data a little bit more to see if we are getting a drop off at that sign up point around the email. But at this point, anecdotally, we're not seeing a big issue, but that's something that we could be agile with.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you.
Hi, Archie. It's Gemma from Mountford Berries. Just a question about how easy it is for whoever's uploading the content to actually do that, because that's one thing that I think all of us on here probably don't have a huge amount of time. And is it easier for us to just go and talk to their people, or how easy is it to do that?
Good question. So what we've done is developed a content scheduler. So what you can do is actually just, we're looking to move it online at the moment. It's just an Excel spreadsheet where you can put in the campaign data that you want, and then we just pick that up and we schedule it for you. You review it and it goes out. So that's the model that's working really well at the moment. So keeping it as easy as possible to get your messages out without having, to have a HR resource managing it from start to finish. So that's sort of where our role comes in. But with our model, that we can give you some access to do it yourself if you like, but I feel like that's our role to play here, particularly if there's an opt-in model. So you create some great content and you say, look, we're happy for all approved employers to have access to this. That's when we go into who would like to opt in. It'll be an email, and then everyone can either get it, or you'll say, no, this is exclusive. It just goes to your workforce. So it gives us a bit of flexibility to be able to, I guess, in terms of workloads, you share the content to take that pressure off.
Yeah, okay, cool. Thanks.
Sue Jenkins here. Oh, sorry, you go first now.
Oh, thanks, sir.
She's left. Can I help you? Where are you?
Sorry, is that you go, Tanya?
Yeah, absolutely. Hold on one sec. She gave me instructions. Just a sec.
I think she's actually accidentally unmuted herself.
Okay, well, while we're thinking, Archie, it's Neil Thompson from the Connect Group, and pardon my ignorance with the question because I haven't been involved before. The responses that come through, if I understand what you said correctly, the responses all come through to you and then you advise us. So the responses from our seasonal workers don't come direct to us. Is that correct?
That's correct. In terms of it'll come to a central platform, and then we will send you a report about your specific data or can look it up. We do have the ability to have a secondary, I guess, dashboard, like an individual dashboard for you all to be able to log into that we can launch probably in the next month. Should there be a need for it. If you all said to us, yeah, look, we all want our own little dashboard to log into so we can just see our data, we can move towards that.
Okay, thank you.
Just Sue Jenkins here. Just a question about the data. Does it actually accumulate in the app, or because it seems like if we want to make it simple and impactful, how does that actually work in the app? I'm just not quite clear on that, because it seems to me if you have masses of data in there, then you're going to lose impact with the messages.
In terms of the number of campaigns?
Yeah.
Yeah, good question. So they are scheduled for a length of a period of time. So they'll keep falling down the rungs as you add more campaigns. Yep. So the freshest content always comes to the top, not dissimilar to an Instagram or a Facebook, with your most relevant or your newest campaigns will be at the top. And as that date that we set, and maybe for a month only, expires, they drop off. So that's where they can keep seeing the freshest content. But there is still some merit in having some of those campaigns down the chain, that there may be some other workers that come onto the app that missed it and they want to go back and revisit it. So it's getting that balance. But ideally, they'll get notified every time there's a new campaign. They tap on the notification, it's front and center and takes them to the top, and they engage that way.
So you can actually, it's really all in the scheduling. So if an issue revisits that you've had 6 months ago and you want to bring it back up to the top, it's just a matter of scheduling it back in up at the top.
Yeah, correct. So like the visa example, we looked at the previous visa campaign that we had a month ago and felt like the content needed refreshing. So we refreshed it, added some different images and brought it back to the top pretty quickly. It was really quick to just modify the campaign. We might just with time is just keep moving. I want to show you some of the data that's come through, and we can have more time for questions at the end. So just sharing my screen now. So working through the data report. So this is quite important. So we targeted 80 over the duration, and with a few managers and some of Andy's workforce, we got 81 downloads. So we were really happy with the push to get them on board through the team leaders to get on board. And the response was quite good, as we targeted them when they were in quarantine largely as well, as they were coming into the country. But what was really impressive was the total interaction and the average per person. So what that means is the number of swipes. So the swiping through gives us a really good indicator of how engaged they are, as well as the total comments. The survey responses was pretty incredible, really, to get that many data or survey responses was really encouraging. So we feel like we're on the right track based on the data, and working through the numbers here, and I won't spend too much time here, but just a quick breakdown of the campaigns and the sorts of data that you will get in a report as well. So all your campaigns, you can see who's engaged by how much on a pretty regular basis, and some of the numbers here were quite impressive. Some of the surveys, so you can use your imagination of what sort of surveys you can do, but to give you an example, just to show what we wanted to test was whether they're open to additional training while they're in the country. So if they are in quarantine, say for 14 days, is there opportunities to do inductions or give them more OH&S training delivered through the app, through video, or do they want to do their first aid or training or forklift, like these sorts of things. And it was amazing to see that we got such a big response in terms of almost 40 responses that, yes, we're interested in additional training. So starts to give a bit of a picture of how we can engage them in different ways. In terms of the Howard Spring survey, so they had here a really good experience overall, which was good data to get back, that they were treated well, they were well fed. Interesting that the Wi-Fi was poor, and that was the only thing that we really picked up on that was something that was any form of an issue. So again, just a good example of how we can how you can structure different surveys, whether that's a single select, a multi-select question, a range-based question, or a text answer response. You've got all those survey options available to you. And then the final survey we put in, which we thought was probably the most powerful, was just that check-in. Like, how are you feeling? How are you going? How is your accommodation? And how are you going today? Like, to get 19 responses that say, no, not great. Look, it's not completely alarming, but it's something that goes, well, we need to dig into those 19 responses and see who they're from and potentially follow up another question. And this is where we're looking at the identifiers, going, well, if there's a bit of a pattern here or a trend with certain workers, maybe we can pick it up before they do either abscond or something else happens. So particularly if they're potentially injured or they've got a problem and they're hiding it, maybe this is an anonymous way that they can stick their hand up without having to go to their team leader, and those sorts of examples. So we thought this is really powerful data, and then what we can do with the responses is go, okay, who are these 19? Let's push them a secondary follow-up survey to see, okay, is there any more detail you want to give us? So is there any questions? I'm just conscious of time. I might just do this summary and then we'll get to questions at the end, and we can spend a bit more time. So in essence, the FarmMate app, it's an app-led solution for the reasons that they've all got a phone. It's for a young and sort of more diverse audience that we find that this is a really good way to engage. It's gamified to sustain engagement. You can deliver different types of content. And once you've got them on the app or in the database, the ability to continue to break them into segments and go back to the well, if you like, to ask some different questions or push more content is really, really powerful. And then from a technology or a back-end perspective, there's that full end-to-end delivery of campaigns and management, analytics, reporting. So that's our job, to help make this as seamless and easy as possible for you. There is that real-time capability. So if you need a point in time, hey, we need feedback on this straight away, that can happen. So that's part of our platform. And then there's the bit we're talking about with collaborating. The shared platform does make it really cost effective for you, and also in terms of a HR space that you can share the content. I think it's really unique and quite powerful, with the ability to still maintain that private and secure delivery to your own workforces. I think that's really important, that you know that, well, no, we don't need all the approved employees to know what necessarily we're asking our workers about. You can maintain that with this model. So it's quite, I think the technology we've built fits well for what you're looking to achieve. So that's a summary. We might open the floor for questions for the last sort of 8 minutes.
Archie, I just wanted to just clarify a couple of things. So for each user, you'll get, you didn't see on that first screen an authorization code. So if you were to take this up, you show it to your workers and you give them a specific authorization code that's exclusive to you. So that's how everything's separated from Archie's platform and completely separate from ours. And when Archie was talking about different campaigns being shareable, so there's stuff on there that are exclusively relevant to our workers, like our pay slip, but the one on snakes we can share with you guys or whoever else wants to get involved. And what I said earlier on is that the more people who have a look at it and start thinking about it, they come up with ideas that we can incorporate. Like Laurie Brown at Top of the Crop the other day said that health check-in, how about we ask how their families at home are? That's really important. So we just whacked that in. It's the fourth question there now. So that's why I want to share this with this group. Completely confidential, your own specific separate groups of workers, but we can collaborate on the content and we can, that's what this whole organisation has been about, and none more so than in the last 6 months. And I just see real benefit to everyone by sharing the technology and engaging with others to enhance the experience.
Yeah, further to that, Andy, as well, if anyone was probably thinking, you have your own license agreement, your own database, so your workers aren't shared across each other as such, so they are kept, I guess, quite siloed. But we still get that ability to do the broad comms across all, and that may be potentially surveying if you need to lobby government or anything that you need to do. Hey, we need to get a response from all seasonal workers as quickly as we can. Hey, this is a platform that we think can, help build some data towards that.
Have you got any feel for what the cost is, Archie?
Yeah, so this is something we want to work with you all on. Our rough costs are about $100 a week for the license, and then the management fee between $400 and $500 a month for our service. Working with Andy, feel like hopefully look, there's room to move if you are a smaller company versus a bigger company, and then there are different options to, I guess, tailor it for each one. It's not a hard and fast model, but that's about where we're sitting.
I explained to Archie how our membership worked with the AEA, that some members are small in terms of numbers, only have a few, and others have hundreds. So maybe that's a model depending on, what the feeling is amongst you all.
Sorry, Archie, can you just clarify $100 per week for the license, and then on top of that, $400 to $500 per month for yourself?
That's correct for our, I guess, for our service to manage the platform, push all the campaigns out, build the reports, that managed service. So there is some flexibility in that depending on how many campaigns you would like individually to go out. So there's the sort of scheduled and on-demand capability. So without going into all the detail, that's the ballpark, but happy to chat through. And then there's lots of things like branding options that we work through, and how there's a bit of a process to make sure that we get the app or your branded app right for you and the model right for you. But that's the general ballpark.
Yeah.
So
So
about $10,000 a year.
per organisation, is that right?
$10,000 per organisation.
Yeah, that's right. Like I think the there is a fair bit of work in building the campaigns. If you all came on, it would be potentially a couple of hundred campaigns that would be going out a month, to give you an idea of the workload for that fee. But yeah, we feel like that's fair in terms of the technology and the value. But again, if we want to work on the model from per user perspective, there is a data cost, but then we can look on that, work on that.
So we're using WhatsApp at the moment to communicate to our workers, and obviously this is, you know, a very different offering with the interaction and the surveying capability and those kind of things. I mean, it's certainly attractive, and I think we've got to look at it, as Andrew suggested, in terms of what you were doing before and what it was taking for your staff to get around and answer those things, and the time that you save in that. So I can see there's, you know, it's a pretty good offering. I was kind of hoping that it would be a subscription thing where the worker bought the app for 99 cents, and so we've got 500 workers that buy the app, and we pay a fee somewhere to be a channel. But yeah, definitely worth considering. I can see it solving, or at least softening a lot of the issues that we come across.
I think with a user fee, like the download fee, it's another barrier to getting the workers on board, and that's something we really want to shy away from. That's the key. The key is to get them on as seamlessly and easy as possible. So that's the way we've approached it, to give hopefully a dynamic new communication channel with the feedback capability.
So Archie, it's Laurie from Top of the Crop here. I'd just like to say something. I've downloaded the app through Andrew and had a play with it, and the girls in my office have done the same thing. Mm-hmm. And what I really like about the communication is when you put a new thing up, you get an SMS to tell you that it's there. So the interaction with the app, I think, is really, really good. You know, and these guys, you have to keep them interested all the time to look at the app, because it's like any app. If you don't have an interaction, you lose interest and you stop using it. So having a message and a new tip every week, like you guys have been doing at the moment, I think has been really, really good. And I think if the guys have a chance to download it and actually see what it does, that they'll be pleasantly surprised.
Yeah, thank you. And I think, there's so much potential to add more to it. I feel like there's early days, and that's part of our service as well, to work with you on. Andy's been talking about a contact us, or a point of contact, an actual dedicated place where they can reach out directly, which is something that we can add pretty quickly and cost effectively. There's opportunity to continue to build on what's there as well.
Is there any possibility or plan to translate the campaign in their native languages?
Again, a good question, and something that we've thought about in a bit of detail. So there's two trains of thought here. They're coming to Australia, and we want them to, improve their English. So if we put it into their native language, does that help the overall communication to them? That's something that we're working with. The simple answer is yes, we can. It's just whether we want to go down that path. So maybe that's something that we will continue to work with and talk to the seasonal workers to see if that's something we want to introduce at some stage.
Oh no, that goes back to what I said at the introduction about we want this experience for them in Australia to be more than just about picking fruit, and if that means that it enhances their English skills, that's one of those boxes that we want to tick, and that's why we're using these. We're working on using simple images, and we're trying to make sure the text is very easy to understand. And you'll see in some of those campaigns that we've done, they're just way too wordy, you know, but I wanted you to see what we've started with, and you'll see how we're evolving with the type of language that we're using with our campaigns. So we've gone from something that's just black and white or just wordy, you know, wordy, to more images. It was interesting. Watching that Gruen show the other night. They talked about the COVID safe ad, the COVID app, and their challenge, the designer's challenge in there was there's 52 different languages of people in Australia that they had to try and appeal to. So that's why there's no faces on the heads of those people, and you know, they've got those funny shapes or things of the virus. That's the same concept that we want to apply to this for our seasonal workers.
Yeah. And might end up also, Andy, being a hybrid model where some campaigns have certain cards in there that are in their native language, but the majority is in English. So it doesn't have to be a complete wipe of the app and change the whole language. It may be more campaign based, that we could look to introduce those sorts of campaigns. And, you know, that's where we step in and work with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, we've been on for about just a bit over our 40-minute window. Was there any final questions before? I might just flash up as well, just quickly, if I share my screen. Here, so if you do want to reach out and contact me directly or Andy to just talk about how we're going about it, what we're up to, here's our direct contact details. I think the next sort of steps will be, we are recording this, so if you ever want to refer to, and I think there's a few others that are interested, that this will be made available to revisit. And the next part is, we're more than happy to do a follow-up with those who are interested as well, to ask some more questions, refine the model, work on the model. More than happy to schedule another time, maybe next week, to do that.
Okay, thanks, Archie. Yeah, thanks everyone for jumping on board, and something to have a think about anyway. For many of us, it's really hard to comprehend how all this technology can work, but I think the best thing you can do is download the app, and I can give you a code now, and you can just try it and then experience it, and then that'll further determine whether you're in or not. So the code is 110 CHAL, all lowercase, 242. So the number 110 lowercase CHAL 242.
Yeah, and I'll just Andy, so once you download the FarmMate app, so go to the Google Play or Android store. So I'll just show you. You'll come to an authorization screen like that when you first enter it. So Andy, if you want to read out that code again.
Yeah, 110.
Yeah.
CHAL.
Yeah.
242.
Or
242.
242. Okay, so then we're into the job shop, I guess, database, if you like, and then this is when you log in, and you'll still see all the same content, as it's all scheduled for the job shop, but that's where your branding can step in, so your workers really get a feel for who it's coming from.
Okay. Just maybe a last question. Is like DEST knows about the app yet or not? Or the government, or?
I've been talking to the PLF, Arno, about it, and tried to get some assistance with some of their messaging and comms in country, and haven't got anything. So DESI, some of the lower level people here in Darwin know about it, but I haven't taken it to them But I mean, this is we believe that this is a massive step towards showing how genuine we are towards the welfare and well-being of our seasonal workers. This is a great example of how industry can take initiative and demonstrate how committed we are to them. So
I agree.
as long as our information is factual.
I think it's really good, Andrew. I'm like, we're not a huge farm, and so we only have about 60 workers. So I am struggling with the price point, and so I suppose this is where maybe we can all talk to DFAT or that the likes to get some funding from them, because I appreciate the technology that's gone into it, Archie, and the time that it would take to do these campaigns and all of these sorts of things. So I appreciate that it's not cheap, but for us it works out to be about $200 per worker per year, which is getting quite expensive. So looking to DFAT or someone to try and get some funding for it may help us little guys, and the likes of Kerry, who's only got a dozen workers, would definitely help in getting us on board as well, because I think it's not only important for the big labour hire companies, I think it's also really important for the direct employers as well.
So for sure, Gemma, and as I think I mentioned, that happy to talk to all of you offline if you like, or individually about your individual circumstance. I think that's important. Like it won't just work as a one shoe fits all. I don't think so. Happy to look at the model. I think that's for us is happy to look at the model so it works for everyone, and the value is there. So the cost and the value you get out of it has to marry up for sure. So happy to talk more about it, and that might be something that we can all have some input on.
Cool, thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your time. Looking forward to hopefully connecting with a few of you post this, and hopefully it was a bit more exciting than the Victorian government advice or information that they gave you today.
Maybe Sue can tell us if it was.
No, it was really good. But I must say, you wouldn't have to be much of a presenter to get a better message across. I'm sorry about that, Archie, but
That's a big
really interesting, and it sounds like a good way to communicate.
Very good. Okay. Well, thank you very much, everyone. Please reach out if we want to do it again, and looking forward to chatting further. Thanks again for your time.
Well done, guys. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Archie.